Which is why it's basically, why are we in youth ministry?
Yes.
How did we get here? Why it says ministry, why we do
what we do,
and why we love it.
Ministry, mishaps, and meaning.
Meaning.
I love the meaning part.
Meaning.
So if you don't know, now you will know, is that Alyssa and I have been serving in ministry at a church for, do you count Forest Home as a ministry? In ministry?
Forest Home's a parachurch, but it is ministry.
So I would say we've been in ministry for the past 15 years, at least 15 years. And so over that time.
Vocationally. Volunteering even longer, but.
Oh, for you, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So vocationally, I've been in ministry, and we just want to share a little bit about that. Like our journey into youth ministry that we are today. I've been a youth pastor for the last 3 years.
4.
Is it? Wow. 4.
4 years.
You've been going hard.
Because it was 2021.
Yeah.
So 4 years.
So how do you want to start this off? Like, how do you want to navigate? You're the great transitional.
Well, first of all, how do you even get going in youth ministry? Like, I feel like for me,
your love of youth ministry. When did it start?
Yeah, like I wanted to serve, and I was young, and I was like thinking, where can I serve where I'm young? I was a college student, and I was like, where are my gifts going to be used and appreciated? And I decided to go to my youth group my church and ask the youth pastor, can I help with the junior hires? Because I had a great relationship with my youth pastor, shout out Joe. And I wanted to work with him and serve under his leadership, because I was like, this is like an excellent mentor, which later on he became your mentor too, which is really cool. When,
it's a whole crazy story how we're interconnected. But yeah, like going back to like my beginning of like youth ministry and getting involved with I appreciated the people that were pouring into me at that time, and mentors in my life that were like, hey, like these are people that are outside of my family that were willing to come meet with a wild, wirely kid. Wiry?
Ooh, Wirely. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, right?
Wiley?
Wiry?
Wiry
and Wiley.
Yeah, not wirely.
Yes.
That would be like, wires all over you.
Yes, I'll be wild. So all that to say is, and I never thought I would be like, I love serving with, like, it wasn't until I was like 18, 19 going to help out with junior high and hanging out with junior hires as like a 19, 20-year-old and pouring into them, not just hanging out with them, but like investing in their lives, getting to know them, hearing their hearts, and just saying how I could be that same person my youth pastor was to me for them. Because like another part of my testimony in this is that like I grew up not having a strong father figure in my life. Like at that time, like it wasn't like the most present walking alongside of me and just helping pour into me as consistent as it maybe should have been. They're doing their best, but having someone to outside of that circle to kind of come alongside me and pour into me was like super crucial in maturing me. And so saying that I wanted to be that same person, like, and I think that's similar to you. Like,
yeah, because it started out for me as like, what can I just like, where am I a shoo-in for being able to help? And like youth ministry always needs volunteers. And I was like, this is something I can do right now that I feel effective. I feel like I'm serving. And then like, and when I first started, I remember being like, I'm nervous because I hated junior high and I had a terrible time and I had no friends and I felt judged and I got mixed in with like the wrong kids at the time. So like I was nervous going into that of like, how am I going to like get them to like me? How am I going to get them? Like I had that kind of junior high feeling going into it. And then very quickly I was like, oh my gosh, like these church kids are so sweet. And they're just looking for, like at the time, again, like I was also a teenager at that time, like probably 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
And so like for me to want to hang out with them was a totally different dynamic and really cool for them to be like, oh, like this like college girl like wants to hang out with us, which is cool. And then from there, it just like developed and grew into like, I actually really love this age. An age that I hated for myself at the time. And probably they're not having the happiest time either. Like being 11, 12, 13, it's so hard. And like
Mm-hmm.
I could go on and on about that age. Like,
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the coolest thing about the junior high age is they're not too cool for school yet. Like,
they maybe want to be, and they would if
yes,
you would let them.
but they're down if you're silly and excited about life and you're willing to like get involved in the mix and be a full yourself, and then automatically, boom, they're kind of like, all right, I'm in. Like, and it's because life is exciting and there's joy to be had. And the second you start overthinking of like, as I know in high school, thinking what people think and all these things, it sucks the joy out of it. And you can't just have fun. And like that's my biggest thing. I was at the high school. And these high schoolers are not having fun. They want to sit in a corner and eat their sandwich and just like, no, I don't want to play games. It's like, so what? Like, play games. Why are you holding yourself back? And like,
You're
so
so preoccupied with how you look
yes.
that you're not thinking about what you want and what would be enjoyable, what would bring you joy.
And it took me like 30 years to overcome that, like
Mm-hmm.
to not care what people think. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
taken me, well, maybe less than that, but just it's taken me time to like not care what others think. That's hard. And like I'm still like there's times where I struggle with that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I feel the same way. I struggle with that too. And I feel like it's really cool to like try to just overcome that and live as that example. And like I have to remind myself kind of often working now that we work with both junior high and high school students. Like before it was just junior high. And I mean, I worked with high school students before too, but like it's like I have to remind myself all the time, like, it doesn't matter what they think of me. Just be
No,
myself.
yeah,
And like the same
exactly.
mantras you used to say in high school, like,
Well, walking back onto a junior high campus for so long and going to like the clubs there, I get like all this like anxiety of like it matters like what their people they're
yeah, what am
literally
I going to wear
they're
today?
11, 12 and 13-year-olds. Why should I give a rip of what they think? Like
Yes.
but like it's like maybe it's trauma that we
It
faced
must
in
be.
junior in the school, the smell of the milk cartons and the trays and the burritos that were not as tasty as you wanted them
That
to
one
be.
toilet that never flushed
That,
right.
that one toilet. And the floors were always wet, by the
Yes.
way, in junior high.
Gross.
Like, why were the floors always wet?
Mhm.
Can they just get someone on top of that? Like, come on. Like,
You know
oh,
what?
oh,
Oh.
oh, oh, oh.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
I got to tell you something.
This is our son, Judah.
You need to go to bed. Listen, I know.
He's live and direct.
We are. Are you keeping it on you?
Oh, yeah, I can keep it on me.
Just look.
Look away.
I don't want you in the video, buddy, because I want you to go to bed.
So we are doing this in our home. And so we have children. We have opportunities where they'll pop in, say hi. Go. So,
Okay, so I was just going to say that the crazy thing about that age, the crazy thing about this age is that the age of the junior hires is like you're coming up, like fifth grade, you're a child, right? Like you're a little kid, you're in elementary school, but you're not yet like a fully fledged teenager with independence about to learn to drive. It's this very in between. It's middle school. It's like a very middle of life
very label
adolescent.
appropriate.
Yes, and it's so interesting because it's just navigating that season with those kids is so rich because my approach is I like to talk to them like they're little adults because I feel like not a lot of people in their life necessarily do that sometimes.
Well, yeah,
not like they're
people-
adults, but
well,
with
the thing is
not,
that-
I don't talk to them about adult things, but I
Yeah.
mean like talking to them like, oh, like you can figure that out. You have full responsibility and the ability to figure
and
that out.
people do set the bar low sometimes for junior high. They're just, I hear like a lot of times from not parents, but just people like, oh, they're just junior hires. They're wild. Because I serve in junior high ministry. Like, well, I can never do that. Like, those are kids are wild. They're like, they just have this label on them that they're unable or incapable of doing these hard things or incredible things. And I always like, you know what? You raise that bar, you set the bar high, and they'll meet it every time. Because when you start speaking to them like an adult or giving them responsibility and saying, hey, you're in this transitional stage. I'm going to help you grow in that to be a functioning, I'm going to like hopefully speak wisdom, become a contributing member of society and partnering with your parents. But the reality is when you start doing that, the response is no longer, like it's a mutual respect almost.
They really are so much more capable than they get credit for a lot of times. So I think it's really important to like exactly what you said, which is, sorry, everyone. The children are out of bed. Will you please sit on the couch and I'll come right out? Don't come over here. Can't put the children in their jammies on the internet.
On the internet.
So, basically, by the way, our kids napped until 5 p.m. Like, it's no wonder they're awake right now. They are like not tired. They took a nice long late nap this afternoon.
So all that to say, so what do we do? We right now currently serve junior high and high school ministry at a local church, and we do that. That's what we do. We get to hang out with students. It's pretty incredible that.
Here's how we got to where we are. This is what I was gonna say. That's how it started, and like finding that love of that age, like over the years of serving, like both of us volunteering and then getting hired and then doing different things. And I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, and then you also were doing like your youth with a mission, like that you got hired for. So like it's really cool all these different ways we've like continued to be involved. But there definitely like there was a definite point, even in just volunteering, where I was like, oh man, like this might be a calling. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
this is like where
it transitioned for me. Like,
yes,
it was like, oh, it's cool, but then it was cool to see how. I think the thing was we saw the fruit of our efforts. We saw like the impact that we were having, and that people were actually receiving, what like just the light and the truths that we're saying, and that people like we were able to. I don't know. I just feel like you and me were able to connect with students and make an impact, and we're able to see that.
Yeah.
And like, if we didn't see impact, if we saw that we were the awkward ones and like, hey, this is just not a good fit, that's one thing. But like wherever we served, we saw that we were the goofy ones, and that people followed that.
Yeah.
Because we just said, and that was the goal for us to be goofy fun, but also like we have the truth of Jesus, and that's what drives us. And that's what that's what allows us to not care what people think. That allows us to have these go through hard things and to speak upon hard things, because we had a well balanced. I think we're well balanced.
Yeah, and like it wasn't just like, yes, we loved hearing about how, you know, the impact that we saw, but we also would hear from the kids themselves often, and even more impactfully, their parents.
Yeah,
coming to us, like coming out of their way to talk about the changes at home that they've seen in their kids, and how their kids would, you know, call you and I out by name about being influenced and in a way that their parents had been praying for a long time. And then saying like, I've been praying my kid would have this growth or have this heart change or learn this. And then being like, they're doing that now. And they love going to youth group, and they didn't love youth group before. And now, and it's just such a cool, like,
it's like, who are we? Like, that's the coolest thing. Who are we? And just, and Alyssa and I are just very big on consistent. We're just showing up. We're showing up. And I think that was a huge, like, again, recognizing, like, it's not that we are special. It's not that anything that we do are just like, wow, no, it's like, it's crazy that they can use like two weirdos in high school, you know,
like I felt outcasted. I felt outcasted in junior high. And then to feel like I can be a person in this junior higher's life that makes them feel belonging and welcomed, and makes them feel like there's a place where somebody notices when they're not there, and they reach out and say, where have you been? I missed you, and I want to see you at church. And like, I think there's something so special about that, and it's something that I wish I had. I wish I had a youth group.
Yeah. Do you have any funny stories about youth group?
Oh,
any funny youth ministry?
Oh my gosh,
I have like
so
one.
many. I have so many, but one of them I'm not going to tell.
Which one's that?
It's the one that happened recently.
Oh yeah, you can't do anything recent. You gotta do like past 3 or 4 years. Well, I have two memories, so we're gonna do memory lane. Here's a memory lane of youth ministry. One is my first opportunity serving junior high. I went to junior high camp for the first time, and I went with my best friend Jarrell. And we went and we were serving these junior hires. And if you know about junior high camp, you want to wrestle. You gotta get the guys like the angst out. You gotta like just say, hey, we gotta throw down, because there's just tensions everywhere. And best thing men can do, young boys can do, is wrestle and get it out. And so we would wrestle all the time. And one of the wrestling things is the junior hires sometimes like to puff up their chest, like, "Hey, I could take you. I could take
They
you,"
totally do.
and
Yeah.
they forget that you're a grown man and that they cannot take you. And so one student thought they could take on Jarrell, and Jarrell. This is like.
Are you allowed to tell
I
this
love
story
this.
online?
It's gross. Jarrell like literally grabbed this student, and he got, because this kid was going hard, and Jarrell grabbed him and got him kind of like, not in a chokehold. I wouldn't say a chokehold, but like grabbed him, and he's like, "Bite the doorknob, bite the doorknob, bite it, bite the doorknob, bite it." And the kid starts freaking out, and he was playing around, wasn't doing hard.
This is not a good story.
Oh my
of
gosh!
youth
And
ministry.
it's funny because I talked to that student later. He's like, "Dude, I always remembered that. That was like the thing I remembered." Second youth ministry story that I went.
Make it a story that's like a good look on the
Okay,
adults,
second.
the leaders.
Oh, this is the second one. So I always like to take the youth boys out to do like a desert trip or go like a day trip. Like like the Grand Canyon was one, and Death Valley was one. So one time we were going to Grand Canyon. We load up on Friday, and then we leave straight after 3:00 after school. We pick up like the Costco, whatever. And so I packed everything in my house just real quick, my sleeping bag, all that. And we start driving out to the Grand Canyon. And little do we know, it snows. And so it started to snow. We pull over to the road to this gas station and say, "Hey, we're actually going to sleep in the van because we're not paying for a hotel." No one does that. This is a cheap trip, okay? Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And all saying, when I opened up my bag, I realized that my sleeping bag, my cat peed all over it. So there's 5, 6 youth boys in there, and they're like, "What's that smell?"
No.
And it was just urination from the cat pee all over it. And it was freezing, and we didn't want to leave the car on the run, and the windows had to be up. And so I had to sleep in this cat pee of a sleeping bag. And everyone and it's fogging up, and people's nostrils are burning from the inside out from the cat pee.
What's that called? They have that thing in their pee. Pheromones?
Yeah. And let me tell you, the funny thing about youth
awful.
ministry, those are the memories that they keep with them. It's the most hilarious thing in the world.
Like, it's funny later, but that was the worst night's sleep. Sleeping in a van is hard enough.
But then in a sleeping bag, you have no control over the smell. It was freezing. It's snowing.
Awful. Awful. Oh my God.
You got any stories?
That's so funny. I mean, I feel like funny stories. I don't know. You reminded me of something that I was gonna say though, which is just that like, it's gonna probably leave my mind right now because I had it while you were telling your other story. It's just like cool to be like, it's crazy to be able to be like, this is my job.
No, I think about that all the time. Like,
this is my job that I get paid to do. This is my living.
I was very blessed.
I am putting on dance parties, and I'm going on camping trips, and I get to show up, pick up students from school, take them to lunch. Like, that's my actual job. And then encouraging them towards Christ the whole time. And like, they want that. It's like, it's really, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I love that. I love that that's our job. And like, even mine, like I get to like partner with you. Like, I'm not like on the payroll, but like we're a team, and it's so, I just 100%. Love that.
And I think,
I did have another question because I probably don't have like a funny memory that's off the top of my head.
You probably have one. You have a good memory.
But I do have a good memory, but it's like,
maybe a top, not funny. What's up?
Yeah, I don't have funny stories. I have
a funny story. One single junior high funny
it's story? Not going to come into my mind. What I think of is like just those moments. The things that come into my mind that I remember are like the deepest moments and the deep conversations. That's how girls are. Like the deep conversation. Guys have deep conversations too, but I think girls are willing to go deep and be serious a lot sooner than boys are. Absolutely. And so we get there and we get to the heart of issues really quickly. And I love that. And I love that just that age that they're willing to tell you what's going on in their lives. And you get to like pray over that with them or talk them through it and give them advice. Like, those are the stories I remember. Those one-on-ones, you know, or being in a small group and talking. Like, I love that.
What question you had? You said you had a question.
I did. So I was going to say because there's criticisms of youth group and youth ministry within the church. So what do we stand for? And like, why do we believe that youth ministry is a necessary part of church, even though
Yeah.
it wasn't always a part of the ancient church.
Yeah, I think the people they rub against youth ministry a lot of times because it segregates them from the main body of church
And their
and their
families.
family. And so having someone else disciple your child and someone else pour into your child is very
Valuable.
No, what they would say, it's you should be the main source. The parents should be the main source of that.
Mhm.
And so having youth group, you're kind of taking that away from them and making parents lazy. What I would say is like having a third party that you partner with, and that's the key word, partner with,
That you trust.
that you trust, just like a football coach, like you trust to pour into that person. That's the person can help them to take them to the next level, to help them. Not that you've been planting seeds as a parent, you've been growing them, but having someone else to come alongside and affirm what you're saying is huge.
Yeah.
And I believe that like youth ministry has gotten a bad rap over the years. Maybe not so much now, but I remember like they want to keep parents out of it. Like, this is my safe space. This is my, I come here to get away from my parents.
It's my me time.
My me time. And I see some value to that. But the reality is that we're only youth ministry leaders are only as effective at what's happening at home, because if we're saying something, pouring, dripping knowledge and truth from a water onto a stone, if it's not being lived out for the 6 days of the week, then it's, it is what it is.
We're there as backup to the parents, as like to backup, meaning like we're here to
not
enforce,
backup, but like, to
enforce what they're already doing, and to be like, hey, there's more than one. It's not just your mommy telling you these things. Like, these are truths that other adults all live by, and like we want to encourage you in that.
And that may be different because we work with a lot of homeschool kids, because versus like not all parents are Christians. Not all parents are following the truths that we have. They send them to a safe place to hang out and have fun. So they may have different messages in that way.
It's both. It's like you're either backing up what the parents are saying and supporting it, or you're informing these kids of things that they've never heard before, and you're pouring that in. But we always want to bring in the families, and we've always done that, and that's like so important.
Yeah,
we've always wanted to bring in families, bring in parents, be a part of the church body, serve, like be as holistic as possible. It's not just we show up, we play games most of the time.
Yeah,
we do a little message.
It's just fun.
No, it's like we're there to serve. We're there to speak truth. We're there to pour in, disciple. We have leadership skills. We have all these different things we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that there's so much value in that. And we're not taking the place of main service church necessarily, and we're not discouraging families from being together in the church.
I think that's where it comes in as a partnership. So that's why I would say like youth group is valuable as a partnership versus a separate thing.
Yeah. I just wanted to touch on that because I know some people are pro youth group and there's some people who are not.
And I think it's just like anything, like get to know the youth leaders. Come and sit in. I like parents should come and sit in on a youth group.
Yeah, we love when parents sit in
and to see like what is my child experiencing, and like they should know. Like you should know.
Right.
That's why, like with Judah, like I'm gonna serve with Judah. I'm gonna like be there as much as possible, be a chaperone, be along those things, because I want to know what goes on in my son's life. Like he is not until he's 18 years old. Like I'm gonna strive to know what's going on in my son's life, so that I can be there to encourage him, empower him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I like that tiny takeaway.
Have you ever had any mishaps?
Oh, I'm sure. For sure, mishaps.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of any silly mishaps I had. Did I like make any kids cry before?
Oh.
Like on accident? Like
you probably have.
I probably have. I get too reckless and dangerous sometimes. I usually need someone to say, hey, that's unsafe. Because I'm like, that's whatever. I'm very like, if you get hurt, it's whatever. You're fine.
You know what I'm thinking of is recently when you were performing in the preschool chapel and you played Goliath.
Oh, yeah.
And you made all those preschool kids cry.
Yeah.
With your Goliath.
I did really
impression.
Amazing. I sold it. I went like full, I am Goliath. And these are like 3, 4 years old.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4-year-olds started crying.
Weeping and crying and flee. They actually were fleeing like the Israelites. They were like, I was calling them out. But I got stoned and it worked out great. But they feared me for like months. So mishaps in ministry.
Oh my gosh.